All right, so let's implement our methods keys and values. I'm going to start with values actually, because that's the one where we really have to worry about duplicate data. So let's start there. And all we need to do really is make an array to store all of our data. So I'll call it values R, ARR, like that. And then we need to loop over the entire key map, this.keymap. So let's just write a for loop for let I equals 0. Oh, I hate typing these when I'm not using my usual editor. This.keymap, and we want to go .length, and then I++. So this is just going to loop over the entire key map. Like, have I executed this? Oh, I haven't run it yet. If we look at HT here, we're going to loop over all 17 items here. And the first thing we'll check is there anything there? So if this.keymap of I, if that's the case, then let's just start by console.logging this.keymap of I. And if I run this, and then I do ht.values, it's printing out all the arrays that have stuff. It's skipping over all of the empty ones because we're working with something that has 17 slots and we're only using, what, 5, 6 of them? 6 different slots. So there are 11 empty things we're not printing out. So that's good. So what we want to do instead is loop over this.keymap of I, because we now need to loop through that and collect all the values and push them into our values array. So we need to go over each one of these and find this item, the second piece. So this is index 0, this is index of 1. Okay, so let's do another for loop. This time I'll do, let's call it j, for let j equal 0. J is less than this.keymap of I dot length. So this.keymap of I is referring to each sub array at that index, j++. Okay, so for each item in there, now what we're all we need to do is values array dot push, and we only want to push the value. So that is this.keymap of I of j. That gives us the entire thing. So if I did this and I run this ht.values, oh, well, we're not returning anything, so that's useless. Well, that was a very dumb example. Let me add the return at the very end. Let's come down where it's our correct bracket. Let's do return values array. Okay, rerun the code, ht.values. If we look at it, we are still returning an array that contains both the key and the value. So we only want index of 1 for each one of those items. And if I run it again, we do ht.values, we're now getting all of the values. So we could call it a day here, but then there's also this problem of duplicate data. And like I said, the way a lot of languages handle it is when you do .values or whatever the equivalent is, you only get the unique values. You often don't get all of the duplicates because there's usually no order that's guaranteed, and it could be confusing if you have duplicate data. Usually it's just the uniques. So how would we implement that? Well, the simplest way is before we push it into the values array, we just check, does this key map already, or does the values array already include this item? First, let's get some duplicate data in there. So I'm going to add a purple with this DDA0DD, and let's also add in something else called violet, like this. And so if I rerun this and we look at our values, you can see that we have, what was that? DDA0DD is in there 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So to prevent that, we'll come over here, and before we push, let's add a conditional. We'll say if the values array dot includes, and we'll use the built-in includes method, this.keymap I j 1. This is the value itself. So each time through, we'll check, does it include DDA0DD? These color codes are not the most intuitive thing for me to be talking about. But if it includes this, we don't want to push. So let's do the opposite. Let's say if not. If it does not include, then we'll push this in. Like that. And let's just test it out now. So I'm using the built-in includes method. So if we try ht.values now, we only get one of these DDA0DD. All right, so that's one way of handling duplicate values so that we only end up with unique values in our data set that we're returning. Then we return it at the end. We just check each time through for each value. Does it already include that value? If it doesn't, push it in. So we could just duplicate the exact same thing and do keys. So change the name of this to be keys, and we'll call this keys array, even though it doesn't actually make a difference functionally. This will be the same. This is the same. This here is also the same, but then this changes. So this is going to be keys value, or keys array, includes this .keymap ij of 0, because our key, each key is stored at index 0 rather than 1. Okay, and then this also needs to be a 0, and this needs to be keys array dot push, and then we return keys array. So if we test it out now, let's do ht.keys. We get however many values or however many keys that is. And if we do the same thing for values, there we go. We get fewer, of course, because we had duplicate values. Now, we didn't address what to do with duplicate keys. If somebody inserts something right now, if I actually go and insert plum again, which is already in there, so ht.set plum, which is going to be double, like that. If we look at our hash table, you can see that they're both stored, nested next to each other inside of index 0. So plum was hashed to the exact same thing, 0 each time. That's how it should work. But we end up with 2 children there. And so when I do an ht.get plum, our logic right now is just going to give me whatever was inserted first. And it should always stay that way based off of how it's set up right now. Now, it's probably a better solution to alert your user to that. So here, we could add some logic to check if it's already in there. When we're setting something, we would check if it's empty. Okay, it's not empty. Then you could iterate over the entire thing and check to see if it already contains that key. But we're just going to go with this simple implementation for now. Right now, it allows you to insert many things at the same key, and you're only going to get the first one that was inserted. And that's fine for now. It's not supposed to be very usable anyway. But just keep that in mind that most languages, if you tried to, insert something multiple times, it would overwrite what you already had. So if we did .set plum to be double, that's what plum would be from now on. But either way, we've implemented keys and values. There really aren't supposed to be duplicate keys, but this code here ensures that we're not getting duplicates. Same thing down here with values. So that's keys and values. Now we could call, dot keys or dot values and iterate over the entire hash table if that's what we wanted to. So to print out every single color that we have, we could do something like ht.keys and do a dot for each maybe. And call each, let's go with key, and then just do console.log ht.get key. And if we try running it, we get every single value printed out. And we do have duplicates there because we're using the keys and just getting the value based off of that. And it looks good. So we're officially getting the keys and the values with our separate methods, and we can iterate over them now. All right. So that is the basics of hash tables. Again, not sophisticated, not something you should really use in this implementation, but hopefully it makes sense how it works.